Hello and welcome back to the channel where flavor knows no borders. This is Food Around Me.
You think Spanish food is just paella with seafood? Think again. Americans were shocked to see a whole pig leg hanging in kitchens, a black squid ink stew that looked straight out of a nightmare, and even a tomato soup served cold like a smoothie. And guess what? Some of these dishes are tied to lust, power, and even bullfighting rituals. Buckle up, because these top 10 Spanish foods will change the way you see Spain forever.
If you've made it this far, maybe your curiosity isn't average. Maybe you don't just eat to survive, you eat to understand, so don't just scroll away. Drop a thought in the comments, something only you would say. Like this video if it sparked anything inside you. And hit subscribe, not for the algorithm, but for the next question you never knew you needed. Because here, we don't feed the masses. We feed the minds that wonder.
When you think of fried rice, you probably imagine a simple pan with veggies and bits of meat. But in Spain, fried rice transforms into a festival on a giant pan. Lift the lid, and it's not just golden saffron rice, it's a sea of power and desire. Blazing red lobsters, tender squid, glistening clams, sometimes even chicken and rabbit all piled together like a feast of flesh. This is Paella Valenciana, the pride of Spain. Paella is not just food, it's a stage. Rice absorbs the soul of seafood broth and saffron in a massive steel pan paella over glowing coals. The climax, the crispy golden bottom layer called socarrat, the holy grail of paella. Whoever gets that piece is honored like royalty. But paella is more than eating, it's an excuse for a fiesta. It's danced around with flamenco, shouted over with drums, toasted with red wine. In Spanish culture, paella stands for unrestrained passion, explosion, and the joy of living. A giant pan in the middle of the square is Spain declaring, "We live to love, to eat, to dance, to burn alive with joy." Paella is not just food, it's Spain flaunting its power and passion. Erotic food, explosive fiesta, male dominance, female allure. Above all, paella declares Spain's philosophy: life is too short for bland meals. There's one Spanish food so legendary that its very name makes food lovers shiver in awe. Jamon Iberico, the black Iberian ham. Forget American deli ham slices sealed in plastic. In Spain, it's a whole pig leg, proudly hanging from the ceiling. Americans stepping into a Spanish restaurant for the first time often freeze in shock. Wait, is this dining or a pig cemetery? But behind that intimidating sight lies pure artistry. Black Iberian pigs raised on acorns, roaming freely, building fat that melts into the meat. Then, the ham is salted and air-cured for years. The result, a slice that can cost more than an iPhone. For Spaniards, Jamon Iberico is not just food. It's a cultural icon, as prestigious as fine wine or a Swiss watch. Eating it means tasting history, heritage, and national pride. For Americans, Jamon Iberico is a mix of ooh and wow, slightly horrified at the leg hanging in plain sight, yet utterly enchanted the moment that silky, nutty slice melts on the tongue. And that's the paradox of culinary power. What scares you at first glance often turns out to be unforgettable once you've tasted it. In Galicia, Spain's wild, ocean-kissed land, there's a dish that makes visitors shiver yet crave. Pulpo a la gallega, octopus, sliced into rings, topped with bright red paprika and olive oil. Americans often gasp, "That's creepy." The suction cups, the circular marks, like eyes staring back. But the moment they take a bite, tender, sweet, with a spicy kick, their tune changes instantly. Okay. Delicious. This dish is Spain on a plate. Fiery, seductive, slightly intimidating, yet bursting with passion. It's flamenco at the table, corrida on the ton, turning fear into pure pleasure. In Spain, there's a dish that leaves Americans both shocked and intrigued: gazpacho, cold tomato soup. Yes, you heard that right. Soup, but served like a smoothie. Born in Andalusia, under the scorching sun and dry land, gazpacho was the farmer's survival drink. They blended tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, olive oil, and stale bread into a chilled, nourishing elixir to keep going in the heat. When Americans see a bright red cold soup, their reaction is often, "But soup is supposed to be hot, right?" Yet the first sip reveals something magical. Tangy tomatoes, refreshing cucumber, a silky touch of olive oil, a summer symphony on the tongue. Gazpacho is not just food, it's philosophy, embracing paradox to find pleasure. In blazing heat, they embrace cold freshness. In barren soil, they create a river of vibrant red life. This dish is Spain itself, a fiesta under the sun, flamenco in a village tavern, and wine flowing in celebration. It's passion, freedom, and the art of turning the unexpected into delight. So when Americans finally taste it, skepticism melts into joy. Because gazpacho whispers a truth, not every soup needs to be hot. Sometimes, cold is where the fire truly burns. If gazpacho is Spain's cool paradox of summer, then churros con chocolate is the country's sweetest explosion against the winter chill. Americans think they own the donut until they meet churros and realize they've found a worthy rival. Churros are golden fried sticks of dough, crisp on the outside, airy on the inside, that perfect crunch when you bite down. But the true magic lies in the dip. Thick, molten hot chocolate. Not the watery chocolate milk Americans know, but a dense, velvety indulgence, a ritual of pleasure in liquid form. On cold mornings in Madrid, people line up at churrerias. One hand holds the churro, the other dips into steaming chocolate, warmth spreading from the tongue all the way to the soul. It's not just breakfast, it's a ceremony of sweetness against the cold. When Americans taste it, they're stunned. Donuts feel heavy and cloying, but churros stay light, crisp, and dangerously addictive when paired with rich chocolate. They realize the Spanish rule of life. Even breakfast should feel like a fiesta. And if gazpacho whispered that soup can be cold, then churros con chocolate replies, breakfast can be sexy, hot and cold, fresh and rich, reason and desire, all embodied in Spain. If churros con chocolate is Spain's sweet morning kiss, then calamares en su tinta is the midnight darkness of the sea served on a plate. Americans often freeze when they first see it, a dish so black, so inky, it looks like something born out of a nightmare. But that very darkness is what makes it unforgettable. Su tinta means cooked in its own ink, the very substance the squid uses to escape, to hide, to vanish into the ocean's shadows. Spaniards, instead, transform it into a sauce that's intense, mysterious, seductive. Bite into the squid, and the tender white flesh collides with the black, velvety sauce, a strange marriage of light and dark, fear and pleasure. At first, Americans tremble, "Oh my God, what am I eating?" But one taste, and they're hooked. The briny kiss of the sea, the creamy richness of the squid, all wrapped in the dense, ebony sauce. It teaches them that beauty often hides in imperfection, and pleasure sometimes wears the mask of darkness. Spanish cuisine has always been tied to fiesta, flamenco, corrido, explosions of passion. And calamares en su tinta is the edible version of that desire. Gastronomic eroticism, where black is no longer fear but freedom, power, and allure. If gazpacho shocked Americans by being a cold soup, then tortilla española confuses them in a completely different way. Because when they hear tortilla, Americans immediately think of the thin flatbread used for tacos. But in Spain, tortilla means something else entirely, a giant omelette, thick and heavy, that when cut open reveals golden layers of potato. At first glance, it looks like a simple leg dish. But once the knife slices through, the fluffy inside with tender potato slices soaked in rich egg embraces the palate like a warm hug. This is no quick breakfast, it's a ritual. Spaniards eat it at bars, at family gatherings, even in the middle of the night after a long fiesta. It is not just food, it is collective memory. Americans are used to light, fast omelets, done in minutes. Tortilla española, however, demands patience. Potatoes must be slowly fried in olive oil, eggs cooked to the perfect balance, firm on the outside, but still moist, almost melting, inside. It is a dance between control and surrender, much like Spain itself. If tortilla española is the warm embrace of simplicity, then fabada asturiana, the famous bean stew from Asturias, is a protein bomb that can bring anyone to their knees. Americans know baked beans as sweet and mild, paired with hot dogs. The fabada is something else, a heavy cauldron of slow-cooked white beans, soaked in the flavors of fiery red chorizo, dark morcillo blood sausage, and smoky, fatty pork belly. It's thick, rich, overwhelming, like eating an entire winter in a single spoonful. It's a dish for cold days, when families gather around the bubbling pot, smoke and aroma clinging to the kitchen walls. Many visitors confess, just one bowl of fabada and they had to loosen their belts or unbutton their pants. Fabada asturiana is the pause, a stew of beans, meat, and memory, heavy enough to scare Americans, yet irresistible enough to make. If there's one dish that captures the spirit of Spanish food as fiery, sensual, and unapologetic, it's gambas al ajillo, garlic shrimp. For Spaniards, gambas al ajillo is more than tapas. It's a declaration. Food should be hot, bold, unforgettable, even if it leaves a trace of garlic behind. That's why you'll find it in lively taverns, paired with glasses of crisp white wine, fueling conversations, laughter, and maybe even flirtation. Garlic and all. And that's the magic. Seductive yet slightly dangerous, a dish that Americans both crave and fear, but ultimately surrender to. Gambas al ajillo isn't just shrimp with garlic. It's tapas distilled to its purest, boldest form. And finally, no Spanish feast is complete without sangria, the sweet, colorful fruit wine that hides a dangerous secret. At first glance, sangria looks like a harmless summer punch, ruby red wine, slices of orange, apple, lemon, maybe some peach, with a hint of cinnamon or even brandy for extra flair. To Americans, it screams, refreshing, juice with a kick. I could drink this all day, and that's exactly where the sweet trap lies. For Spaniards, sangria is not just a drink. It's a symbol of community, celebration, and fiesta. You never drink sangria alone. It belongs with music, with laughter, with the collective joy of living in the moment. That mix of sweetness and danger makes sangria the ultimate Spanish trickster, a soft knockout in a glass. And like Spain itself, fiery, seductive, unforgettable, sangria leaves you dizzy, delighted, and wanting more.